Hello and welcome to episode 51 of Entertainment of Excellence, the podcast where we talk about films, TV, all of it. Hi, I'm Ollie.
I'm Thom.
And I'm Ben.
And today we're talking about the 1997 film The Game. This will contain spoilers.
Yeah, that's entertaining.
So, the plot synopsis of the film is that there is a rich and miserable man named Nicholas, whose father committed suicide when, on like his birthday or something, when he was a bit young. And then his brother, who appears to be like a drug addict maybe, comes back to see him on his birthday and then gives him like this gift voucher, I guess, for something called the Consumer Recreation Services. And he kind of signs up to it, and they do all these weird tests on him on like his psyche, like asking if he's killed small animals or something. And then he's like, "What's this about?" It's like, "Oh, it's a game, but we can't tell you what the game is." And he's like, "Okay." And then they call him and they're like, "Oh, your application didn't go through for the game." But then he gets home and it turns out he is in the game because there's a spooky clown. And then lots of strange things seem to happen around him, and he's got to like try and work out what's going on. And things kind of derail, and a woman that he thought he could trust like ends up drugging him, and he wakes up in Mexico. And then he has to get back and kind of like tries to find the officers and see behind everything, and then he realizes that his brother's in on it, and they have a whole thing, and then he's on like a rooftop and he thinks he's shot his brother, and then he tries to commit suicide like his dad, but then it turns out it was all not a dream, it was all a birthday party. It was a social experiment. So yeah, there you go. It was all a birthday party, which is now my new least favourite film ending.
How long was the course of this film meant to last? Because it seemed like it was lasting like over several weeks, but
I see the time frame.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because wasn't the first day like a day after his birthday?
Yeah. So
they were.
I think it was over the course of a week. Oh, it said the date on the thing at the end. It said like you're invited to Thingy's birthday party between 11:33 and 11:37 on this date, but I can't remember the date. Sorry everyone.
No, I mean it's just a little thing, but it seemed a bit weird with that twist that, you know, it's showing that it's his birthday at the start, and then that's like the big reveal that it's a big birthday present sort of thing.
To me, I feel like I thought it was about a week.
Yeah.
Did you spot the can of haggis in every scene of the movie?
There was.
Yeah, there was a can of haggis in every scene.
Well,
because haggis was the nickname of the cinematographer.
Right.
Nice.
There you go.
Good to know.
Yeah, so there's a can of haggis. I think.
What were your like general impressions then? What did you think? Like, if we ignore the ending at first.
Yeah. While I was watching it, I felt like it was classic, like David Fincher thriller, and I was really intrigued by the premise of like this like really rich person's spooky game, and then when it starts to seem to kind of going off the rails, I was then interested in the mystery. One thing that I was kind of disappointed in is that it felt like it's set up like it was going to do a load of puzzles you'd have to solve.
Yeah.
But like the only puzzles were like get out of a sinking car or guess what this key is for. No, it's not for this thing, it's for this lift. And it's not like there were any clues about that.
Yeah, I feel like, as you were saying, it didn't really, to say it's called The Game, it didn't really feel like a game as such. Like, you'd probably imagine you'd have to solve loads of different puzzles and there'd be all sorts of clues, but it was basically all just, I've no idea how they anticipated he was gonna do all this, or I guess there was like a degree of manipulating him because it sort of revealed one of, I thought, the best parts was the fact that a lot of people that he thought he could trust were actually also involved in it. But I don't, to say it's called The Game, it wasn't really a game. I didn't feel like, I thought
Yeah.
it didn't handle that amazingly well.
And the poster has like a jigsaw puzzle of Michael Douglas's face.
Yeah, you'd think it would all like add up to something in the end, but really it's like
Yeah,
a lot
it
of
just
the
felt
things
really
that it
flat.
sets up. Yeah,
It more felt like, instead of it being like pieces of a puzzle coming together to make a whole picture, it was more like, the game is this thing. No, actually, it was this thing. No, actually, it's a birthday party.
It's like you got one piece
Instead
of
of
the puzzle
like,
and
yeah,
it's the wrong piece. You're trying loads of different places to fit it in.
it's more like someone bringing like 3 different completed puzzles and putting them down in front of you, and going, aha, it was actually this one the whole time. That's it. That's what I felt like. I mean, I was kind of, the movie like did give a good pace, and I kind of like the atmosphere. I think Fincher's good at his thriller atmosphere. I mean, obviously this came out just after Seven, which I really love. So he kind of got that right, but I think it was around the last half an hour I started to get bored, because I'd assumed the thing about them like stealing his money was the last thing about what CRS actually was. And I was like, well, how is this going to go on for another half an hour? This is kind of boring.
Yeah,
I checked the runtime. I was like, ugh.
I thought they were like this kind of, I don't know, like a rebellious group of like I don't know, lower class people who wanted to get revenge on like rich CEOs about like stealing the money and stuff. Which like would have been all right, I guess. Like not great if they'd left it at that, but I would have accepted it. It's just just that ending. It just that it was going so well up until like 3/4 of the way through the film, which, like you said, I kind of got a bit bored towards the end. And then just that ending just soured everything.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't really tell if there was, to me, not necessarily a problem with the pacing, but I felt like the whole way through, it never really felt like it was progressing that well, because it felt like there'd be some sort of thing that would happen, and then you'd kind of see him dealing with the consequences of that, and then he'd just go and make like another decision, and then that would spiral into this other events, and they don't really add up at the end of the film. So I feel like, although obviously the ending doesn't leave the greatest impression, the whole way through, I wouldn't say I was bored, but I felt like, I guess I was kind of thinking the whole way through, where are they going to go with this? Because the initial, what he thinks is kind of the twist, and what he's led to believe is, as you were saying, they're stealing the money from him. But I don't think that would have been kind of a good resolution either. So I was just kind of thinking the whole way through, how is this going to end?
Yeah.
I mean, it's doing.
I wish it had more of the games. Where was the game? Show me the game.
It's doing that thing with me where, like, the more I think about it, the more the ratings are going down, in my opinion. Like, exponentially, like Tag did, which, funnily enough, is also the name of a game. Coincidence?
Whoa.
I think not.
I mean, I think
it's because now
the cinematography and the pacing was pretty good for most of it, and I think the performances were good. Apart from, I don't know if it was just me, but like I felt like Michael Douglas just said his lines in a weird voice. I don't not that he was putting on a voice. It was just like the way he spoke. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, I didn't. I've got to say, I wasn't blown away by any of the performances. I didn't really feel like Christine's character was very. I don't know. I felt like she was quite a weak character to say she was so central to the plot, and that was like the peak example of that person that he thinks he's able to establish a relationship with, but actually she's involved in the game. And I really like the scene where he does get drugged, and also that scene where he goes to her house and he kind of is going round and seeing the in the picture frame it's got like a cutout from a magazine and stuff,
and the half books.
Yeah, but I just feel like I don't know. I just felt like the acting was a bit empty in general. Maybe that's just.
I don't know if I'd say empty, but I'd kind of just say adequate. It didn't really leave.
I think Sean Penn was good. Do you not think Sean Penn
too much?
But the argument with Nicholas, like in the street, that was a pretty good scene.
Yeah.
And the cinematography, it has like the David Fincher of people walking into focus and all that.
I like the cinematography again, but I don't know. It just felt like a very like dark film, not in terms of the themes, but it's just like if I compare it to sort of the other Fincher films we've done, like Gone Girl and Social Network. I mean, obviously they're more recent, but they felt quite bright and vibrant, whereas this just kind of felt a bit. I don't know, just a bit dull in terms of the colour scheme.
Oh, I think that's just the 90s in general.
Yeah,
I mean, I was
talking to someone about the 90s style, and to be honest, I kind of like the 90s grainy feel. It's the same with Seven and like a lot of 90s films that I can't think of off the top of my head. But I think that was more the cameras at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the colour scheme and the scene where he's talking with those people he overheard talking about CRS. He's in that like fancy restaurant. He's talking to them. It was sort of like the dark, goldeny colours. I quite like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like that might be like 90s cameras at the time because it reminds me of some other stuff. Reminds me of some of the early X-Files episodes as well, which are also 90s. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Castaway falls into that, and other things. I don't know.
Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Oh, sure. The
Did
Phantom
you just
Menace.
say
Why
yeah,
not?
and then not?
I didn't really register Howard the Duck, obviously, which we love. The Fly has that graininess. I'm just looking through things I've rated to see what has that grainy feel.
Robot Monster, that was made in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
It was quite grainy.
Truman Show, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, yeah. I was saying before,
Brazil and 12 Monkeys, yeah.
This kind of had similar-esque themes to Truman Show with like seeing the paranoia of him and like if he's sort of questioning whether this is all revolving around him. I mean, obviously they make the argument, well, you were the one that signed up for this, whereas in the Truman Show it's been like that since he was born. But I don't think they handled those ideas nowhere near as well as in the Truman Show.
Yeah. Just one thing that I didn't understand. At the end when that guy gets shot, is that fake or real?
That was fake. That was Sean Penn that got shot.
Because I was trying to work out whether they were using live rounds, and they say that they didn't. But I guess that was kind of part of that suspense. You're always guessing what is actually their intention. Are they trying to get his money and kill him, or? But like they chose the worst possible reveal of what it actually is. It didn't feel like a film. It felt like an episode of Impractical Jokers or something.
I'd feel less soured by the film if they actually did go with it was all a dream. Like, because at least, like, the problem with it was all a dream is the fact it's overdone, and especially like it's the first thing that comes to mind when you're like younger and trying to write a story, and it seems cool at the time, but like this is just so obscure and out of tone with the rest of the film. Like, there was, I don't know how they could have done it better. Like, maybe they could have foreshadowed it slightly. It's just like they went from this dark, gritty tone where he's like questioning everything, he's incredibly paranoid, to like, surprise, it was all a birthday party and everyone's happy and laughing and they're all having a good time. And at the end, he like asks the Christine out, and he's like,
yeah,
that's not my main problem. My main problem with the birthday party thing is that it's such like a messed up thing for him to put his brother through. Like, he made him think his brother had killed him, and all these traumatic things about like losing all of his money and, you know, waking up left for dead in Mexico, and it's all this like irreversible trauma that his brother's gone through, and the trust issues they're gonna have now, and like that's just a birthday party.
Except they're not gonna have trust issues, because did you see them? Like, he seemed to just recover from it in an instant whenever he learned it was a birthday party.
Yeah, he drove his brother to suicide as a birthday party. Can you explain?
He drove his brother to suicide, and then whenever he realizes it's a birthday party, all of that trauma conveniently just goes away. He just accepts it.
The only thing I'll say about like the suicide thing is that I guess that the intention was maybe he felt like his brother was on the brink because he's like living alone, and, you know, his ex-wife and all of that. Maybe he felt like he was depressed, and that if he showed him that suicide wouldn't like bring any help, that maybe that would help him. But it's so many messed up and just wrong. Yeah, like just like send him to a therapist. It's kind of like, it's so awful. I mean, not only is the twist like not satisfying, it's messed up on like a character point of view, and then there's like, how did his brother pay for it? I mean, I know they split the bill at the end, but all we know about Conrad is that he had to go to like rehab 3 times. So where's he got the money? What job does he have?
I thought that when they did the twist at the end, I thought maybe there could be the potential for like a double twist, and along the lines of, because throughout the film there's quite a lot of ideas about when he gets in that argument with Conrad, he's saying like he's more and more resembling his father, who he obviously, you see, he didn't do this too often, but near the start and end you get like those brief flashback moments to the childhood. So you kind of see that the legacy of his dad and kind of that deep sense of anger towards him is conveyed throughout. So I thought maybe there could be some sort of double twist where he has like the idealized view of what happens once he jumps off this, is that, you know, it's a nice party and it's all this big reveal that his brother's done this for him, but then maybe that's actually not the case. Maybe he has just turned into his dad and he has committed suicide, and that's like the only road out of it. But just the fact that they didn't do that, and they just, as you were saying, not only is you're left completely unsatisfied, but also you have the whole, like, what an awful thing to do, and like the character flaws associated with that are way too great to overlook.
I just can't get over the fact that all of this messed up stuff's happened and his brother's put him through absolute hell, but the writing at the end just completely conveniently forgets that, and he's just like, oh, good one, bro. You know, he's not left with any damage at all. He just gets back on his feet and is fine.
Unlike Deborah Kara Unger, who fractured a bone in her foot and jumped into a dumpster infested with real rats while working on the film, she did not walk away unscathed.
I mean, maybe even one way to make the film even like remotely better is maybe if you'd had the reveal that it was all a birthday party, but then it just left with him just having some irreversible trauma and like dealing with the actual effects of it. It's like, no, this wasn't funny, guys. I'm actually just messed up now. Like maybe they could have done that, but like
And they play it off the joke with that guy saying like, "Oh, thank God you jumped off, because otherwise I'd have had to push you."
Yeah. I kind of bits at the start though were good with like it felt like it set up loads of stuff without a payoff, like the clown.
Yeah.
It was like I felt like clowns were going to be a theme, and the TV screen. I kind of felt like it was a bit cheesy, but then it helped set up the paranoia about the TV screen, like when he meets with his ex-wife and he sees the actor on there. So I thought it worked in that way, but I feel like there must be so many things. I think that there are bits of film now, like if you think about it, that are supposed to point out flaws in his character, like with helping the person who he thinks is dying on the street, and I'm pretty sure people say that like it does point out flaws in his character, but that's the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's stopped from like trying to fire that guy, the book publisher man.
Yeah.
And being rude to waitresses. I guess that's one of his problems. I've no idea what the pen bursting thing is for, because it was a CRS pen that burst in his pocket, and I wrote that down because I assumed it was going to be important. It was not important.
Yeah, didn't he just go to the bathroom, wipe his shirt down, and then just it doesn't lead to anything?
Yeah. He buys like some more shirts.
I feel like the majority of stuff was like that. The only thing where apart from the TV thing where he tracks down the guy, I like directly after that when he walks into the room and you start to see all of these people who you've seen throughout. So I think you have like his attorney, you have his the policemen who, these people that he thought he could trust, but they're all actors. That was like the only thing where there was a twist that kind of, well, maybe if you think about it a bit more, then it might kind of foreshadow stuff from earlier on. But what was the whole? It seemed like there was a motif of kind of keys and stuff, but I never felt like that was that relevant at the end.
I think it was more like finding the key to the game or whatever, because the whole thing at the start was like the point of the game is finding out the point of the game.
Yeah.
And the point of the game is a birthday party. How ridiculous does that seem now?
The kids would have been quite interesting if he had more puzzles to solve. The only time he really, when he was when the guy drove the taxi into the water and he had to use that to get out, but as you were saying near the start, it didn't feel like there was enough of the game or any puzzles, and he was never trying to, he was trying to work out that, like, what was the point that. Well, I don't understand. Like, it doesn't even. It kind of felt similar in a way to Gone Girl, that he has to go through all this to bring out the best in him and kind of correct some of these character problems he has. But they never really made it that overt what they were trying to correct.
Yeah. What did you think of the score? Because I said that it was serviceable and that I remembered the high piano note.
That's all.
Do you remember the high piano note?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Moving on. I said the dialogue was a bit cheesy. Was that just me? I can't remember any specific lines, but it felt. I think I meant cheesy in the way of like. I am saying this to move the plot forward way.
I didn't really think about it like that while I was watching it, but that does kind of make sense now thinking back.
Yeah. Yeah, the dialogue didn't blow me away at all, as I was saying, also with the acting.
I'm trying to think back on like some of the things to do with what could be exposing flaws. I guess there's the sex room, as I wrote it. I don't know if that's to do with like privacy, or he doesn't really seem to be that sleazy throughout the film. Do we ever see any of that? I don't think so.
No, because they don't really present him as being that immoral or anything. If anything, it's his dad and his brother that you kind of don't have much empathy towards. But I always felt quite.
But he is a bit
sorry for him.
annoying. Well,
Yeah.
he always felt like just a miserable, angry man that didn't really care about anyone. So I wasn't that sympathetic towards him. I didn't really
Well,
like
maybe
him.
not, but he wasn't like. You didn't feel like he had to go through all of this to
No.
like reveal it was just a joke.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think the graffiti in his house was kind of like showing how much he values just like things and having this kind of perfect display. Because he gets annoyed because someone has graffitied in his house. I don't think they destroy anything. It's more that it's like destroying his image.
Yeah,
and the way that he presents himself.
Maybe that's what the pen was meant to represent. When the pen.
Maybe. Or maybe.
Did you notice all the things that were called CRS, like the cable repair service? And,
I only noticed the cable repair service.
There was one more that I can't remember right now. It wasn't just the cable repair service. Oh, the cab something.
Yeah.
The taxi company as well.
Yeah.
What was that?
That was another CRS because he saw that and then he realised that he couldn't get out.
Oh yeah, I remember that now. I can't remember what it stood for though.
No.
Cab. Road service.
The cool
rad service.
The cool rad service. I feel like the consumer recreation service. Maybe that's supposed to say something about society. About consumers.
Oh no.
Because I thought it was going to talk about like people wanting to take risks without actually having risk. Because that, a lot of it was like, there was always a backup. Like, there was a scuba diver for the taxi bit. Blah, 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 blah. But that was not a thing.
No.
Nice. Can't really think of much else to talk about.
There must be stuff to talk about.
We've still technically got 10 minutes according to the standard Entertainment of Excellence format. We could have had it out with.
Maybe we could have a shorter episode to bring people back in after the 3-week break or whatever, the month break.
Well, I mean, we're going to make up with it with the recommendation.
Yeah. So. True.
What did you think of that scene where he is up on the roof with her and he's got the gun just before that final reveal? Because I felt like that was one of the best examples of building tension. Because I often feel like when I've watched people ranking Fincher films, they often say, "Oh, well, it's kind of an average, not necessarily this film, but it's like an average story or plot, but he's able to elevate it with all his directorial tricks and stuff." And I don't really feel like that was wholly the case here, because I feel like what I'd like to see would be more foreshadowing, more little hints, because it felt like a lot of the hints that were set up would kind of then be immediately answered, and so therefore the twist at the end, it kind of fell even more flat, because there was the only really shocking revelation was that it was this birthday party thing. You weren't like, oh, that means that meant that on whatever. You didn't really like look back on the film any differently. Well, I didn't.
Yeah. If anything, I felt like the direction, or maybe it was the editing, was kind of disorientating towards the end.
Yeah.
In terms of like things were just happening, and it just kept going and going and going. But one bit I did like, with the tension building, like jumping into the, the big bins, and the bit in the hospital where all the lights went out and everyone disappeared. I thought that was cool. But nothing stood. There were no moments that stood out like in Seven, where I can remember them like seeing the killer in like a train station, and them looking through the things and like realizing that he's burnt his fingertips off, and obviously the ending with the box. There wasn't like any standout bits for me.
No.
I'm thinking of loads of bits of Seven now, but I can't be bothered to get on about them all. Or Gone Girl, I felt like was much more tense.
Yeah.
Even The Social Network had sections that had more tension.
Yeah, I guess.
Should we just rate it so that we're not just kind of... Because I feel like we just want to talk more and more, and we're going to do the last 3/4 thing of the game. There you go. Bring it back to the film.
Rating time. Go to entertainmentofexcellence.weebly.com now.
Yes. Cool.
I mean, we always say like we always go on about how The Social Network's overrated, but this has actually got a higher rating on IMDb.
This is even more overrated.
I do not think is justified in the slightest. I preferred The Social Network.
Same.
See, when I started watching it, I was like, wow, could this be an 8 candidate? And then, like, maybe as it went on, I was like, okay, maybe this is dragging a little bit and is a bit confusing, but still like high 7s, right? Like the interview level or something. No, I think...
Wait, did we mention his t-shirt at the end?
Oh, God.
What, the one where it's like...
I was drugged and left for dead in Mexico, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt.
Because I feel like...
That was like the biggest punch in the face.
That would have been fine if he just had that, like, when they were all back to... Well, not normal, but...
That would have been fine if it was a comedy movie.
Well, yeah, but when they were just at the party, if he walked up and showed him that, but that was like the thing that he revealed that he wasn't dead with, holding that t-shirt up. Like, what? And then Michael Douglas was like, oh, yeah, you're still alive. Okay, let's go back to normal now. That's fine.
Yeah. Anyway.
I'll pay half the bill for putting me through hell.
Although we've kind of ragged on about it, I don't think it was like rubbish.
Yeah, because it had a good setup. It was just the payoff that was awful.
Yeah, but because Heavy Metal was kind of like revolutionary with the animation, I've got to put it below Heavy Metal. I think I would actually prefer to watch Heavy Metal as well instead.
I know, it's so disappointing because, like, if it had a good payoff, I would have wanted to watch this again.
Yeah.
But now I know the ending, it's just like everything's just worthless.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say I'm just gonna go solid 6. I'm gonna do it.
Ooh.
6. Boom.
I had high expectations for this film.
Maybe that's why I'm being a bit harsh.
Down.
I'm gonna go 6 as well.
Okay.
I think. Because, like, comparing it to the next thing down on the list, Birdemic, like, the only reason...
I mean, we have some other stuff in between there, but...
Yeah,
but, like, Birdemic, I'd probably prefer to watch Birdemic than this, but I guess it does still stand that Birdemic is an objectively terrible movie. So I feel 6 is pretty justified.
I'll go, you know what? We're doing a 666. I'm going to agree.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Unanimous. Hell yeah.
It.
Can we work out the average then?
I don't know. I might take some time. Some intense
10.
rounding.
It's a 10. It's actually the best rated film we've ever done.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well done, the game. Getting 10
Is it
out
time
of
for
6.
recommendations?
No,
No,
it's
it's not.
time for
Submission
submission
spotlight.
spotlight. If you
No,
have a
I
sub-
corrected myself. I corrected myself.
Oh,
if you
come
have a
on.
submission, submit it to be in the spotlight. Next.
Okay.
No, we need to. Tom got that wrong, so we need to set up like some.
No,
elaborate
I
plan
fixed
to
it.
get you to correct yourself and never do that again.
We need to record like a little audio of like Tom scolding his future self, saying, "Grr, I can't believe you forgot the submission spotlight," and just play it on air every time he forgets.
Correct.
Yeah.
Remembering of submissions. There you go. Boom. CRS.
Ooh.
Okay. So I've watched a lot of things because it's been about a month. So I'm going to talk about the things that I've watched. I'm sure Ben and Ollie can join in with one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched the Wes Anderson film Rushmore, which was really good. It's got lots of great comedy. It's about like a guy who he goes to like this really prestigious school and does like loads of extracurricular activities and is head of all of them, but has really bad grades. And it's really enjoyable. It's got a great performance from Bill Murray. It's like this point where Bill Murray started being good again. Because there's like 80s comedy Bill Murray, and then he kind of went, ooh, and then Wes Anderson brought him back. And it's got great direction and editing and memorable characters and moments, and it's just a really great film. I also watched Once Upon a Time in America, which was worth the 4 hours which it takes to watch it. You've got to be in for the long haul. It's got like... It's Sergio Leone, so I mean the cinematography is great. It's got one of my favourite shots of all time of like this really wide shot of like 1920s New York with 2 buildings and like kids running in front of it, and then looming in the background is the Brooklyn Bridge. It just looks amazing, and it's a brilliant gangster film and deals with stuff about betrayal and friendship and relationships, and like greed and lust, and it's kind of one of those with an ambiguous ending, which is always interesting, but ambiguous in a good way rather than like a well, what the heck actually happened way. I also watched, this is going to go on for a while, everyone, so stay with me. I also watched Firefly, the sci-fi western TV show, which is just really enjoyable. Good characters, good action. You can tell that everyone really enjoyed being on the show, and I just kind of watched it for like the tone, because I really enjoy that kind of like rough and tumble ragtag group on like this worn down spaceship, but they don't like have the money to use laser guns, so they just use like revolvers and ride horses and stuff, and then like do heists. It's pretty great. And talking of that type of tone, the first and second episode of The Bad Batch has come out, which Ollie and Ben have also seen. Is that correct?
I mean, I haven't, but
Ben hasn't, has he?
Oh, I thought you had. Ollie has, so
I'll take the credit.
Me and Ollie can have an intellectual chat about a children's cartoon. The first episode was an hour and 15 minutes, which I was very surprised at. But yeah. I felt like it was really well paced. Out of the 2 episodes, I think the first one is better.
Oh, by far.
The
second one.
Second one I thought was good. It just wasn't as good.
They do a really good job. Like, obviously, you don't have to have watched the Clone Wars to understand what's going on,
but it would definitely help.
Yeah, because obviously these characters are first introduced in. Yeah. Let's be honest, pretty unremarkable episodes in season 7 of the Clone Wars.
I liked those episodes.
They were fine.
Okay. They were average.
I really liked them.
But this takes place like I think it's kind of during the last arc of the Clone Wars, and then like also during
it was Order
the
66
last half of episode 3. Yeah.
Order 66 just gets executed. It's interesting that we get to kind of see like the transition into an empire. I don't know if we've seen that much in any of the other Star Wars stuff.
No, and it definitely does have some callbacks to other episodes because I guess this is kind of a spoiler if you've seen like season 2 of the Clone Wars, but not season 7, because I think it's season 2 where Echo, it's revealed he's still alive in
Was it that long of a
Clone
gap?
Wars. I think so.
Wow.
Wow. It was 5 seasons.
I'm pretty sure, wasn't
That's
it?
crazy.
Whoa. I mean, to be fair, it doesn't help that like I binged all of it, but unlike you,
Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah.
But but you in the episode that one of the early episodes he's in, that's also one where Tarkin's in as well, and he also appears in episode 1 of this show. So there's kind of a tension there. But it is, as you were saying, it's really interesting seeing that the emergence of the Empire and kind of, I'm guessing later on we'll kind of get that transition from the clones to stormtroopers, which is kind of being referenced. But I felt like the character, like the Bad Batch characters, work a lot better in these episodes because, well, we also have another Clone Wars character who's features in the second episode, like not a major character from the Clone Wars, but he was in a couple of episodes. But you've also got a few new characters who are quite cool.
Yeah. Echo died near the end of season 3.
Oh,
just to
well,
just
sorry.
checking. How dare you, Ollie? But yeah, I mean, I think they're doing well at kind of differentiating the characters, and the voice work is good in that it's just like one guy doing all the clothes.
Pick up D. Bradley Baker.
Yeah, and he's doing a pretty good job of making sure you can always differentiate between them. And yeah, I just remember that first episode having like great action and like fast pacing, and just kind of seeing this, where you're switching from clones to stormtroopers and changing to an empire and how you get people on board, and the second episode as well about like the chain codes. I thought was interesting, which makes me. But I'm also like a Disney anti passports. I don't know what the message is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty good. I'm looking forward to the rest of the episodes.
Yeah. So
Dave Filoni is a cool guy. And yeah, now for the other half of my recommendation.
Also, the second episode was half an hour, which is slightly longer than the Clone Wars. I think there's going to be like 16 episodes or something.
Yeah, 16. So look forward to that.
Yep.
I also Donnie Brasco, which is Johnny Depp, Al Pacino, gangster movie, undercover cop. Great stuff. Based on true story. It's got a lot of great things, like a kind of tragic ending, although you don't really know what happens, and just interesting conflicts. And I watched the TV show, which season 2 is still coming out actually week by week. This time with Alan Partridge, which sees Alan Partridge go on like it's basically a parody of The One Show. If our British viewers have watched that, kind of like prime time, laid back, like I think it's technically called a magazine show, where it kind of has like news stories, but not really, and like bits of like tiny documentaries within them, and they kind of bring on guests and stuff. But it's got like peak Alan Partridge awkward humor, and just I don't know, it's really funny, but there are bits that are kind of duds. I wouldn't say it's like as good as the I'm Alan Partridge series, but there's just lots of funny bits, so worth a watch. And then, okay, last two, we're nearly there. Dallas Buyers Club, which is about people who during the AIDS crisis would like turn to basically people that would try and like smuggle in new drugs that weren't fully tested or FDA approved, just to kind of get any treatment, because this was before there was anything to help with HIV and stuff like that. So it kind of deals with like the health system and whether people with terminal illnesses should be able to like take more experimental drugs, and also good character moments and lots of sad bits. What a weird choice I felt making it was having Jared Leto play a trans woman instead of maybe like an actual trans woman. And also it's Matthew McConaughey playing like who you assume is a bisexual man, but I'm pretty sure he's straight. But representation of film is representation, so I guess that's fine. And then the final one I watched was Castaway, which I think lives up to the hype that I'd heard. The middle hour and a half doesn't have any dialogue or music from what I remember, but I felt like the pace was great, and I even felt like I wanted to watch more of that section. And it does well of like setting up the character and kind of deals with about what people's purposes are. Like what reasons do people have to kind of even like carry on living in a philosophical way, and lots of interesting stuff. And the bit with the plane crashing is also quite intense. And yeah, so you can watch Castaway as well because it has my seal of approval.
Do love the Thom seal approval.
Shaquille O'Seal seal of approval.
Good to know.
Do you two have any recommendations?
An official thing on the front.
Yeah, the Shaquille O'Seal of approval.
The Thom Shaquille O'Seal.
In fact, go to entertainmentexcellence.weebly.com/Shaquille and I'll post the image there.
Great.
Do you have anything, Ben?
I do, surprisingly.
Oh.
Nice. I actually started watching this a while ago, but only got to the third season recently because I've been quite busy recently. You've probably heard of it. It's called Killing Eve. It's a drama sort of with dark comedy elements in it, and was on the BBC. It's based on a series of books called the Villanelle novels, but I haven't read any of them. It mainly revolves around this secret, this agent in the British government, who is originally like looking at a series of murders who are committed by this Russian woman who goes by Villanelle, and it sort of starts off pretty typical, but then it sort of progresses into something different where the two women kind of become obsessed with each other, and things start to take like weird turns because of that. It's been called a subversion of the femme fatale trope, which I think I kind of agree with. It's mainly just it's really good writing, and the original creator left after the first season, but it kind of kept its quality throughout the second and third, which like not a lot of shows will like do when the original creator leaves. It's really good. Just watch it. There's meant to be a fourth season, the final season, coming out. I think either later this year or like next year, which has obviously been delayed due to the pandemic. I'll definitely be looking at that. Look at that when it comes out.
I've been watching it.
Groovy. Does it have the Thom Shaquille of approval?
Yeah, it does. I think season 2 is probably my favourite season from what I remember. And then season 1, then season 3.
Yeah, season 3 is my least favourite out of the lot so far, but it's still intriguing.
Still good.
It's all good, yes.
Ollie, anything?
Right, yeah, my recommendation. It's another cartoon.
No.
Oh no.
Well,
not
animation, but unlike The Bad Batch, this is definitely not for kids. It's
Ooh.
Invincible.
Didn't you already recommend that?
No. I mean,
maybe I'm going insane.
Happy
Oh, maybe you just
birthday.
talked about it in the group chat.
So it's an Amazon Prime original, based on a series of comics, and just like The Boys, it's very violent. Maybe even more so. But it's very difficult to tell you what it's about without spoiling the end of the first episode, which I won't do. But it's about this boy called Mark, whose dad is Omni-Man, this like the most powerful superhero on Earth. And this is really difficult without saying what happens. But basically, as the show goes on, he's trying to live up to, you know, he knows that he's going to develop powers at some point, but he doesn't know when it's going to happen. So that's kind of like the theme of the first episode. But then when he does develop his powers, it's kind of him dealing with that. The next, like the middle episodes, they kind of follow very much like an isolated story each week. That they do have some like underlying storylines that are brought up later on, which I think the individual episodes work well, and they're quite a good, I guess, sort of coming of age sort of thing, with looking at Mark's character and how he's dealing with these powers and the different threats that he's having to combat. But I think that the real kind of standout parts are the bits that are kind of brought up more heavily in the last two episodes, which are definitely the best, because it's difficult to say, but there's like the stuff that's going on with Omni-Man throughout is really interesting. There's also some of the side characters that they play a very significant role later on. So I'd recommend that. I think it's been renewed for a second and a third season. So if you've got Amazon Prime, then watch Invincible.
I will, Ollie. I will.
Thank you.
Indeed.
I hope it gets Tom's Shakilo seal of approval.
It doesn't. I've not watched it yet.
No, I'm just saying I hope it does.
Oh, okay.
Can you give it like a tentative seal of approval?
No.
Oh,
no.
Fine.
I've got to watch it.
Oh, well, I said it's good, so I'm definitively right.
Okay.
Okay, so going back to the game for one moment, you know how it ends with the stupid birthday party twist? Well,
yeah.
Guess whose birthday it is one day previously before you hear this?
Ooh.
That's right.
Is it the episode 5, A Quiet Place of Entertainment of Excellence podcast?
It is indeed. It is the 1 year anniversary of us relaunching the podcast. So that is cool.
Yeah.
Listen to the episodes if you want.
The reason this happened was Thom mentioned that Quiet Place Part 2 comes out soon, and we were like, oh, it must be approaching the 1 year anniversary. Let's check when we did the first one, and it was today, as of the day we recording. So
yeah, it's annoying Part 2 hasn't come out yet. That would have been really nice to like have it a 1 year later thing, but well, unfortunately we didn't have it. But if John Krasinski, if you're listening to us, can you hook us up with a reviewer copy by next week? That would be pretty cool.
we would.
So next week, if we're not doing A Quiet Place Part 2 in advance, we'll be doing something else.
Yeah.
We will.
Have we actually decided?
Should
we just do the next
we have
thing
to
on the
say,
list?
don't we?
Why don't we do Joker 1991?
Sure.
No, don't. No,
it's on the
falling
list.
What's falling down?
The thing we'll be doing in
Michael Douglas film.
Oh, is it?
It looks quite similar, to be honest. I think it's just him getting like angry about
So therefore, we should have a break and do Joker 1991 first.
It's on Netflix.
Oh, great.
I mean, put it this way, the one after that's Howard the Duck, and we have to do everything in the order it is on the list.
So, yeah, Joker 1991.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
All right, see you.
Yeah.
All right, see ya.
Yeah, that sounds too